And this meeting is being recorded. That was new to me. I've never heard that one. So we'll unshare the screen, and I'm just going to kind of call out those that I see on my screen, maybe giving our tempo team to the last, and then saving an introduction for Devona Wright-Cottrell as well. So Julie, you are smack dab in the center of my screen. So unmute yourself and introduce yourself with who you are and a unique fact about you.
Well, good morning, ladies. Nice to see all these ladies in the room too. I'm very excited. My name's Julie Collins, Cossack Collins, and I'm the owner and coach of a company called Not Magic. We do business coaching and business development for small to medium-sized firms, and I've had that business for almost 2 years now. My unique fact is that I also host a really cool podcast totally on a volunteer basis for because I've met so many cool women called Women Who Open Doors. So it's just a fun thing that I do kind of in my spare time. And I get to meet some really great, unique women. So that's my unique fact for today.
Julie, thank you. I love that. I love the podcast. We'll have to share that with our members. We have, as you know, we have several different methods of communicating to all of our members. So let us know, maybe put the link to your podcast or maybe your website in the chat. That would be awesome. Thank you so much, Julie.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you guys.
We have two Tracys. I'm going to start with Tracy Mukowski first.
Hi, good morning. So I am the Vice President for Institutional Advancement. We just changed the title at the Milwaukee Institute of Art and Design. And I just started there in February, but I've been in Milwaukee for a very long time and enjoying that. A unique fact is on the side, my husband and I have like built homes and flipped them, and we love that interior design thing. And then I also play the spoons.
You play the spoons?
I do,
oh
yes.
My gosh, how cool is that?
So,
I was going to say, maybe we'll see you next on HGTV, but maybe it's America's Got Talent is the next thing. So
it's the only talent I have.
I'm sure that's not the case, but Tracy, it's so nice to meet you. You came obviously very recommended by several Tempo members. So you are joining a very familiar network, it sounds like. So welcome to Tempo.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Lisa Wright.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Lisa Wright. I was formerly the Vice President of Market Intelligence and Strategic Partnerships at Watermark, which is an ed tech company that was part of a company here in Milwaukee. We were then bought by a company in New York. I've just transitioned to a new role with Silver Rock Consulting as their marketing lead, doing some really interesting writing and research with them. My fun fact is I'm actually writing a book, and I'm writing a book on adolescence and sports and watching the development of kids in sports across sports and specialization and the impact on them and their careers.
Wow. We have a powerhouse of ladies. I know that you'll all know this already, but this is really impressive, Lisa. It's wonderful to meet you. Virtually. I feel like I know so many of you from reading your resumes and, kind of scouting you out on LinkedIn. So it's nice to meet you virtually. Thank you.
Thanks, Jen.
Miss Marcy. Hey, Marcy.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Jen. I am Marcy Stutzman. I am the Director of Development for Horizon Home Care and Hospice. Do all of the fundraising events, also oversee the volunteer department here. I have also worked at the Salvation Army for quite a few years, and prior to that, and started a young professionals group there called Echelon, which some of you may have heard of. A fun fact about me is I grew up in the middle of the woods in a hill. My parents have an earth home. So kind of like a hobbit house.
Wow.
And that's where I grew up. So
Do they still have it, Marcy?
they do.
Oh my gosh.
Not a real house, but they still live there. Uh-huh.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah. Like solar energy, you know, like the whole nine. So
Yeah, living off the earth. That's awesome. Yeah,
definitely.
perfect. Well, good to see you, Marcy.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here and excited to
Yeah.
meet all of you. So
Awesome.
thanks.
Amy.
Good morning, everybody. I'm happy to be here as well, like everybody else. Nice to meet everybody. I am Director of Customer Solutions at the LAK Group in Brookfield. We're a small talent management firm, do everything from assessment through succession, but most of my career has been as a practitioner in the OD world, at Advocate Aurora Health and at Komatsu. Fun fact, which probably has part of who I is I grew up in South Africa and I moved here actually next week, 1st of June, it will be 13 years ago. I moved here on my own with my two daughters. They were 5 and 9 at the time and worked in a global company. So, a lot of people say, how can you do that? But I think this is just timely as a woman, there's just so much you are capable of. You just don't realize it at the time.
Well, we are lucky to have you. Thank you. And happy early anniversary on 13
Thank you.
years. That's wonderful. Amy, nice to meet you. Tracy.
Good morning. Sounds like
Good morning.
everybody is doing really well on this kind of gloomy Thursday. Cold again, not good. I'm Tracy Parent. I am the Chief Operating Officer at Kaler Slater. We are 1908 architecture firms. It's 1908. We're long-standing. We have done projects like the MSO. We just recently won the Milwaukee Public Museum. So some really big projects here in Milwaukee, but we are a national and global architect firm. I've been with Kaler Slater for about a year, and prior I was at GMR. So Divana, I'm sorry we didn't get to meet, but our paths almost just crossed. And I spent a couple of years at GMR as a senior director of finance there, and very much well know Lisa and the whole group that belongs to our emerging women's leader, as well as our Tempo organization. A lot of wonderful powerhouse women, and I'm honored to be a part of that. A unique fact about me, I didn't live in a cool home or anything like that. I'm not writing a book, not yet anyway. But something about me is that I have a very creative side. So I think, I like to say that I use both sides of my brain. I love charcoal and I love drawing. And so although in this financial kind of strategic, left side of my brain, I also really, when I need that downtime, that time for myself, I love to just draw, and charcoal happens to be something that gets kind of all over, and it's dirty and not planned necessarily. So it helps me relax.
Oh, that's awesome. And finding your passion and what, kind of helps relax you. Really wonderful. We've also, as you will learn, our network here in Tempo and with our emerging women leaders is very vast. So
yes,
it's a small network, but it's a large in comparison, and you'll find a lot of people that you'll know or paths have crossed throughout your career. So it's wonderful to meet you, Tracy, and welcome to Tempo.
Thank you.
And Granite.
Hi, Jen. Hi, everyone. I'm Ann Grant. I work at BMO Harris Bank. Is it bad connection?
You're good.
It's a little. Equipment Finance Group within the commercial bank. I'm vice president and I manage our pricing and analytics team and our relationship management associates. And a unique fact about me is that I led our National Women's Affinity Group. And at the time, we were able, and I think a lot of companies are going this way, but we were able to increase the maternity leave from 3 months to 6 months So that was a really great accomplishment.
Yeah, that was incredible, and congratulations on doing that. Anne is was also part of our Emerging Women Leaders group and was a leader and a force with that group. And we are so happy and thrilled to welcome you into Tempo. So
Thanks, Jen.
when we get to that portion of the orientation, if you want to jump in at all, that would be awesome. But Anne, it's so great to see you.
Good to see you.
And Ebony, are you with us, Ebony? There you
I
are.
am. I'm in transit, so I should be pulling up to my office shortly. Hello, wonderful women. I am so glad to be with you this morning. I'm Ebony Solly. I am the brand and creative director of a firm I launched 10 years ago, Solly Media Group. We do branding for healthcare systems, regionally, higher ed spaces, and place branding. A fun fact about me, I am an unabashed nerd, so my book list is vast. So I look forward to any recommendations. And I started my first business making hand-drawn posters at the age of 10.
Oh, wow. Very cool. You'll have to like show us. I feel like we need to have a show and tell almost when we tried to start a talent show, which is another story altogether, but it's just wonderful to hear about everybody's talent. So Ebony, welcome to Tempo. Thank you. And
Thank you.
drive safely or whatever you're doing, but you know, you can just be on listen mode. So now I'm going to thank you all. It's wonderful to meet you all. We do this because I think it's really important for our new members to get to know one another. And when we do come back in person, we make a pretty intentional effort to have portions of our program meeting where we've designated an area in the venue that we host our meetings to say, here's where our new members can meet. So it's a way for you all to engage with one another. We're going to try and keep you engaged virtually for the next couple of months until we are able to meet in person. But this is a really great way to get to know one another virtually. So let me introduce the Tempo team. And I'm actually going to start with our newest team member, Diavion. Do you want to say a few words?
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Diavion Lyons, and I am the Communications and Event Intern here at Tempo. I just graduated from Mount Mary University last Saturday, getting my degree in communications. Why I chose to major in communication, I made this small saying that says, to communicate is to elevate. If you're not communicating, then what are you doing? My journey here at Tempo has been really great, and I am so happy to let you all know that I have been offered a full-time position with Tempo. I could not let the opportunity slip out of my hand, so a lot of you women would see me more. And a fun fact about myself is that this past Saturday, I just found out that I am the first person from my mom and dad's side to graduate with a 4-year degree in my generation. So yeah.
Awesome. That is awesome, Diavion. Learning more about you. Diavion's official first day with Tempo is June 1st, and we are just thrilled. She has been a force as an intern, and now we are so excited to elevate her into a full-time position. So Diavion, thank you. Yay. Her TV.
Hello, it's wonderful to see you all this morning with some very, very interesting facts. I don't know if I'm going to be able to meet that standard, but it's especially great to put some faces to names. So my name is Pertivi, and I've been with Tempo a little under 2 months now. And I am Tempo's marketing and communications specialist. So a fun fact about me, okay, this is kind of stupid, but I have the entire preamble memorized from the Constitution.
Wow.
And I use that as my party trick, but
that will that's awesome. Per TV, I didn't even know that. So I'm getting to know. I love this part about getting to know my Tempo team. So I'm sure that commands a room, and that is just definitely a conversation starter. So very, very cool. Her TV is another force within our organization, 2 months in, and she is just definitely finding her voice and taking ownership. So we're really excited to have you as part of the team for TV. And I feel like our legacy team member, Marit, our seasoned, I should say. Marit, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, legacy, seasoned. So hi, everybody. I'm Marit Harms-Franzi. I am going on 6 years at Tempo. So I don't know if there's a fact Jen doesn't know about me or that I don't know about her. We pretty much know everything about each other, but I mainly oversee the Emerging Women Leaders Program, Women's Affinity Alliance, which you'll hear more about, and marketing communications. So great to see you all. I've done probably 20 of these orientations and I feel like I'm out of facts. So I'm going to share my Tempo shirt. You can get your own in the Tempo shop, temporiseshop.com. We launched these a couple of months ago. And it's a very nice shirt, nice fit, nice fabric. So we're loving these and our new brand.
Yeah, we're loving them. I think we're seeing them pop up all across the city. And so it's really cool when we are in person to see like, oh my gosh, member of Tempo. So we'll share a little bit more about that. Yeah, Marit has been a incredible team member and working alongside of me just a year into my tenure here. Marit and I joined forces again. So it's been really a wonderful journey. Devona Wright-Cottrell, do you want to introduce yourself?
Good morning, ladies. It's so awesome to see you all. As Jen stated, I am Devona Wright-Cottrell, Chief Legal Officer and General Counsel for GMR Marketing. So hi, Tracy. I was taking a note as you was doing your introduction to say, I want to introduce her to Lisa, but no need to do that because you are all too familiar. So that's awesome. I love connecting people. So I jot notes down to see, if there's a connection that can be made. So I've been a part of Tempo for 5 years, serving on different committees, just throwing myself into the work. I think that's how you get most out of the organization. And I'll talk to you more about that a little bit later in my board chair comments. But a fun fact about me is I've done these two, Marit. I'm trying to figure out one that I haven't shared. I don't think there is one I haven't shared. So I'll go back to another one. I left the practice of law after my first year and pursued a modeling career based off of like growing up. People were like, oh, you're so tall and you should be a model. And so I was like, okay, well, let me see what this will be like. I absolutely hated it. So went back to the practice of law, which shows that you should follow your dreams and not dreams that others have for you. And then I ended up with a son who is a model, and he's been modeling now for 6 years, and he absolutely loves it.
Yeah, and he is. I've seen a lot of his work from Devona as a proud mom. It's really awesome to see. So thank you, Devona. Devona will share a little bit more about her journey and the impact Tempo has had. But I often say that I am one of the most blessed CEOs in Tempo in the business community here in Milwaukee, because I am surrounded by the likes of Devona and my really incredible board, as well as all of you to learn from, to be mentored, to be coached. And so I'm so excited. Devona and I just started our journey together as board chair and in my role with Tempo. And you've got me for the next 11 months, Devona. So I'm really excited about what that future holds for the two of us.
I'm loving it.
Yeah, I am as well. So thank you. Wonderful to meet everyone. As I mentioned, we are going to spend about the next hour and a half going through all you need to know about Tempo. Before I do that, I have spent, it will be 7 years with the organization in August, and came here, very unconventional path, but I'm really thrilled to be here and to meet all of you, and really excited about what the future holds for all of us. So thank you for your interest, and thank you for joining Tempo. A little bit about our organization. We celebrate 46 years in 1975. 4 women in the Milwaukee business community gathered to come together and really share best practices. They found themselves being elevated to that executive position within their organization. But when they looked around, they found that they were a very unique group and they were probably the minority group. And so coming together as executive women leaders, really looking at how men and women operate differently in the workplace, they formed Tempo. And really, if you think about the landscape and the environment for women in 1975, it's vastly different. But they joined together to really come together and share best practices, learn from one another, and definitely to network with one another. They also created a mission, and we'll go into that. But when we looked at the landscape of 1975, we have evolved over the last 46 years into our new branding. So Mart will talk a little bit more about that. You saw that on her T-shirt. The world moves when women rise. And we put together this little video. We launched this in December of last year, so this is really new, but this is a really good representation of our new brand. So, right.
A single voice hitting the right note can shatter glass.
Many voices build on that timbre and strength.
They resonate.
They create a vibration that can shake foundations.
Change expectations.
Many voices ring through and ring true.
Tempo is a group of women who have spoken up,
risen above,
and defied conventions to succeed.
And we are committed to helping others do the same.
We are each bold,
smart, strong,
and uniquely powerful.
Together, we are unstoppable.
Together, our voices rise, and the world rises with us.
Tracy, I cannot agree more. Every time I see that, the goosebumps, some familiar faces. Devona had a cameo in that, but we are just really, really proud of our new brand, how it has evolved. This really sets the tone and the stage for where we have evolved over the last 46 years and where we intend to go in the future. So it's really, really incredible. Really excited about this. This was the mission that 46 years ago, the four women that created Tempo created to further the impact of women leaders in our community. It remains our mission to this day. We see that through a vision of a society where executive women share an equal place in leadership, policy, and decision making. So we have made some incredible milestones and work to reach that vision. We're not quite there yet, but certainly in all of the work that we're doing about equity for women in the workplace, we are making considerable efforts to make that vision a reality. Here are our core competencies. Tempo advocates on behalf of women and all of our members. We also elevate by sharing our knowledge and our leadership experience. And then this idea of Tempo accelerating the success of our members, and what is that collective voice, and how are we impacting not only our members, but those in the community. So advocate, elevate, and accelerate our core competencies. Our three core values, you will learn a lot about our focus on leadership and promoting that executive level women, as well as what are we doing to rise up the next generation of leaders. So through that, our mentoring initiative, it's probably that area is where we're best known externally, and our focus on mentoring of others. We'll talk a little bit about how that is displayed in several of our events and in our initiatives, but focus on mentoring. And then finally, networking. We have an incredible network of women leaders, and so how do we harness that value and that strength of that network and share it among ourselves, but also in the community as well. So our three core values. A little bit about our Tempo profile. As many of you know, because you're here, We look for women that are really at the top of their career or are in an executive level role, professional experience of 10 to plus years, but that additional experience, that second um, criteria there, that 5+ years of senior level and executive management is something that we really separates us from other organizations in Milwaukee or across the country. And we're very focused on that. And it's been intentional because we do believe that women at that stage in their career want to be in a network of women that are in that same level and can share best practices, learn from one another. And so we want to be really making sure that we're creating that environment and have programming, have leadership opportunities, have professional development opportunities as well. But that doesn't mean that we don't want to, there isn't a spot for women that are not as advanced in their careers. And so we'll talk a little bit about our response to that as we talk about our emerging women leaders executive. And the community involvement aspect for our women leaders and our Temple profile is very important to us as well. We want to ensure that our members not only are creating a space and doing so many great things within their organization, but what are they doing to impact those around them and outside of their office and in the community? This is a little bit about our member stats. So we are at 462 Temple members. We have a variety of industries and companies served, so 338 different companies. So again, our industries and our our variety is very vast in terms of our members. 93 new members joined, and this was during the pandemic. So we know that the strength of our network has never been more incredible, and the value of what we are bringing to our members through our programming and many other things that we'll talk about. But it was just really great to see that 93 members joined, and this was probably one of the highest on average over the last several years that I've been with the organization. So great to see. Membership growth, we started at 280 in 2015 when we started really being intentional about tracking these numbers. And then you can see the elevation over the last couple of years up to 462 this past year. We do have 5 full-time employees now, really proud of the work that we've done and the growth of our organization. One of those team members that is not with us today, you met her TV, you met Diavion, you met Marit. Kelsey Arrigan is also an instrumental part of our team. She is not with us today, but she does work with us remotely. So she recently just moved to Boulder, Colorado, but she is remaining a part of our team. I think as many organizations have realized that you can work remotely, and we've learned that we can do that from all aspects of the country. And so we're really proud to have Kelsey as part of our team. And I'm sure many of you have heard from her via email. I know you would have received a lot of your new member orientation information from Kelsey. So hopefully you'll get a chance to meet her in person soon. Board of directors, again, Devona Wright-Cottrell leads our board. Our chair-elect is Mary Burgoon, pictured here on the right from Rockwell Automation. And then our past chair is Lori Richards. We do have a sizable board of really incredible leaders and experts within their fields, 21 board members, including directors and directors at large. They are elected at the annual meeting in April. So if you have leadership aspirations, we are really transparent about how you can get onto our board and the role that you can play. I don't know, Devona, if you want to jump in here and share a little bit about your term and your impact with Tempo, but feel free.
Definitely. Thanks, Jen. I would just like to say, not just my impact on Tempo, but Tempo's impact on me. I love to talk about because I think I have grown by leaps and bounds, not just from a career perspective, but also just personally as a woman, as a mother, as a wife, as an executive, and prior to that, a senior leader. Just leaning into, the work of Tempo. I love to say, the best thing to do, there are 3 things that I encourage individuals to do when joining Tempo. And I talk about these 3 things because 2 of the 3 things were really beneficial for me. And the third one that I will get to is I just hear so many positive things from other women who've been involved in Tempo, get something out of this. So if you have an opportunity, I would encourage that as well. So the first thing I would say is get involved in a committee so you get to know people that you didn't know before. It's comforting a lot for us as women to navigate toward what we know, but there's so much learning that can happen by being open to what we don't know and those people that we don't know, and being able to bounce ideas off of them, just get insight on certain issues. I mean, I would like to say that as women, I think as people, but as women, we're typically managing through an issue, given the various hats that we wear. We are coming out of that particular issue, or we're navigating towards another one. And so with Tempo, we do not have to do that alone. And so there are tons of friends that you can bring along with you. Secondly, I would say is reach out and ask your new friends for their insights. We all want to be helpful. And I know that we can sometimes be apprehensive, a little nervous about, asking people for help, but that's what we're here for. That's what our networking and mentorship pillar does for you. We're all called on to support each other. And I can't tell you just how much help I've received from the women in Tempo. And to my earlier point, when I initially joined Tempo, I joined the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. And the reason I did that was because I was work that I was already doing at my full-time job. I wasn't a DE&I expert, but I was contributing in that area. So to join a committee that was working on DE&I and helping us to, be a better women's organization, it was low-hanging fruit for me. So then it didn't feel like it was a bunch of additional work. So there are a ton of ways that you can get involved. I think that will, in a way that you can contribute your current skill set, but also gain something at the same time. And then the last thing I will say is consider joining a mentor circle. I've heard time and time again how valuable and rewarding mentor circles are for Tempo women. And so this is the third thing that I was referencing. One of the phrases that I've heard very often was, it's life-changing. And there are women who remain very closely connected even after their mentor circles experience. So if you have an opportunity, that's another way that I would do to be involved. I'm just incredibly excited to welcome you to Tempo, to be able to help you navigate in any way that I can. And I hope that you feel that you find Tempo as professionally and personally rewarding as I have. So let me know, reach out anytime if you have any questions, but I'm just a phone call or screen away. Back to you, Jen.
Yeah, thank you so much, Devona. Thank you for sharing that. We'll talk a little bit about that. As you can see, Devona is a joiner. So it's really incredible that you've gotten so much from Tempo, and that segues perfectly into what we say. You get out of Tempo what you put into it. It is not a mandated or requirement that you serve on committees or that you join right away. But we do encourage it, and we do think that it's customizable based on your journey and what you're looking. There's not a lack of engagement opportunities. We have 13 member committees. You see them all on your screen. I believe that was included in the packet of information as you join the organization, a little bit of brief description about them. We'll go into more of that and talk a little bit about some of the initiatives that Devona referenced in her comments earlier. The structure is most committees are led by a chair and a vice chair. So again, no lack of leadership opportunities. So we always say, if you are interested in learning more or being a part of these committees, let us know. We will get you engaged. Our finances. So our membership organization is a 501c6, which is a little bit of a different profit status, but it is for membership groups. Those membership dues include all of what's listed below, including your 8 monthly program meetings. We'll talk about the professional development sessions, our Tempo Talks, our Tempo Real Talks. The list goes on and on. Our other sources of revenue, aside from our membership dues, are the Emerging Women Leaders Group, Women's Affinity Alliance, corporate partnerships. We have a lot of great partners who are advocating on behalf of everything that Tempo does, as well as the event sponsors that you'll learn about from our signature events. We do have a charitable arm of the organization. It is our 501c3. We'll talk a little bit about our Tempo Foundation and what we provide to the community. So the future of Tempo, I'm going to go through our strategic plan a little bit and talk about engagement opportunities with this. But as you've seen, one of the biggest components of that is how we have evolved over the last 46 years into who we are today, and a lot of the work with our Tempo brand. So we've built out a 2023 strategic plan, so introduced it in 2020 to our membership group. And it's this notion of, in 2023, Tempo Milwaukee continues to be this inclusive network of female leaders, executives, and emerging women leaders, and talking about providing that leadership, the professional development, a focus on the community, and certainly on mentoring of others. We are and continue to be an organization whose strengths and our position impacts the community. So we'll talk a little bit about what our goals in doing this are. A thought leader on equity for women. So we want to be that voice in the community for all things that matter to women in the workplace. We want to be that business partner and resource for our partners, our corporate partners, our sponsors, nonprofits, members of the media. And we want to be and continue to be a financially strong organization. So how are we going to achieve all of this and get to where we want to be by 2023? We have really focused on these 4 pillars of network and value, legacy and brand, equity and belonging, and community and impact. But at the center and at the heart of everything we do, as you see on your screen, is that member experience. So how do all of these 4 pillars and our goals to achieving our strategic plan by 2023 really impact that member experience? And how are we continuing to provide that value and the benefits to our members? Along with that is the foundation of being that financially strong organization. We are a really incredible, we have great financial stability right now, and I'm really proud to say that we are a financially strong organization, and you'll see kind of the impact of that throughout this presentation this morning. Really focusing on our network and value pillar. So this is that collective power of 800 women, and how do we harness what we've learned, and at the same time share that uniqueness of each of our individual members, and really furthering that impact of women leaders in our community. So we'll talk a little bit about our programming, our professional development, and how are we engaging with that the network of 800 plus women. Legacy and brand, we've talked a lot about that over the 46 years. What have we done in terms of building equity for the brand? How do people know Tempo in our community? But then also that future generation. What do we look like? What does the next 46 years look like? So really in that pillar is the focus on our brand, how we've evolved, our emerging women leaders, the next generation of leaders is really a focus on that pillar as well. Equity and belonging. So this is Tempo, like many organizations, is on a DEI journey of equity and belonging, and making sure that all Tempo members feel included. And so we've been very intentional over the last several years and creating that inclusive environment, and really focusing on our equity and belonging efforts. So we'll talk a lot about that, and you'll see some of the results and our voice within that community right now. The community and impact pillar is our focus on what are we doing to give back to the community. So under this area is our focus on the foundation, but also being that resource for equity for all women in the workplace. So we'll talk a little bit about our efforts there. So those are our 4 strategic pillars. You will hear me talk a lot about this. Our team knows this strategic plan and can recite it in their sleep, but it's something that we strive towards, and we have aspirational goals to get us to where we want to be by 2023. So the key differentiators of our organization, and we're going to go through this pretty quickly, but the key accomplishments, I think this gives a really great snapshot of where we were and all that we accomplished in the last year. Tempo straddles 2 years. So when you see a 2020-2021 calendar, we begin our fiscal year May 1st, and then it ends April 30th. So this is really reflective of right around May 1st of 2020. If you think about what was happening in our world at this time, we were in the midst of just learning about the pandemic and how it was going to impact our organization. So, but then if you look at these accomplishments, it's really incredible to see all the work that has happened over the last 12 months and all that we were able to accomplish despite what was going on around us. An 89% member retention rate was really incredible for our members. As you heard, we added 93 new members to our Tempo network, and that's just Tempo alone in the last 12 months. 35 of those women were added to our mentor circles, which we'll talk about, and which Devona talked about, being really a critical component of your membership here. New Coffee Connections program, Marit will talk a little bit about that. Our 71 one-to-one mentoring matches between Tempo, our mentors, and our emerging women leaders. We'll share a little bit more about that. And then 63 events. So the team was incredibly busy. This is more than once a week events that we provided to our members, and just an incredible value add. So that, again, there's no lack of engagement in being a part of this incredible network. Programming. So programming is one of our key differentiators in terms of what's setting us apart. We bring in high caliber speakers on a monthly basis, 8 times a year. Most of those are done in person, but we've also switched those to virtual. And certainly when we pivoted from the in-person to all virtual over the last 12 months, we knew we needed to meet our members where they were. So we introduced our Tempo Talks session, as well as our Tempo Real Talks. And we'll talk a little bit more about those specific programs. But we are planning to be back in person for our 3rd Thursday program meetings in September. The venue is TBD, but we'll share a little bit more about that. But also realizing that because the virtual environment, where now many of us are still continuing to work remotely and will maybe do that for the rest of their career, we want to provide and meet our members where they are from a virtual aspect. So all of our in-person meetings will be streamed virtually, as well as having that virtual component in our webinars with our Tempo Talks will continue throughout our near future. So providing that to our members. Our Women's Affinity Alliance is one of those key differentiators. So this was really at the request of several of our members and larger organizations who were trying to find a voice and a platform for their ERG or their BRG, which is their employee resource group or their business resource group. And how could these groups share the evolution of their affinity alliances with one another? So we formed our Women's Affinity Alliance in 2011 and really provided this platform for organizations to come together. We have about 25 corporate members. So those leading ERGs within their organizations come together. These are the organizations that are represented right now. And we give them the platform to share best practices, where you are in your ERG or BRG journey. So if you have a Women's Affinity Alliance, you have an LGBTQ alliance, African American alliance within your organization, but maybe you're looking for ways to refresh your programming, or you're looking for best practices. Anne talked a little bit about what she's done at BMO in terms of changing their policy for women on pregnancy leave. And so that is sharing that with these organizations here has just been a really value add and something that we provide to our members, and it's a key differentiator for Temple Milwaukee. Another key differentiator, and I'm going to actually turn this over to Mara and have her talk a little bit about this, because this is just, it's a passion for me, but certainly as Mara is owning this space for Temple, I'm going to have her share this.
Thanks, Jen. So Emerging Women Leaders, sounds like many of you are already aware of it. You heard Anne talk about how she was a member and is now in Tempo. This is an initiative that started 6 years ago now. So we introduced our very first class. It was 40 women in December 2015. Called it kind of our little startup within Tempo, but knew we were missing women in Tempo membership who just didn't quite have that 5 years of executive experience, but were by no means entry level or right out of college. So we were kind of missing this core group of women who could also serve as, future Tempo members in our succession plan. So launched in 2015-16, 40 members. Anne was one of those. So Anne, you can chime in about your experience of what you were getting into, but you can see the incredible growth here. 284 members last year. We just welcomed in 67 new women who are not included on this chart yet. We now take nominations 2 times a year instead of 1, and just really continue to evolve and change and add more benefits as the group continues to grow. Another goal of this program is that women will move into Tempo if that's part of their goals to be an executive leader. And to date, we have had 18 EWL members transition into Tempo and continue to see interest. I'll pause, and I've got one more slide, but if you wanted to add some color to your experience.
The only other thing I would say is, I know Jen talked about the one-on-one mentoring, that you paired up 73 mentors. I've had a mentor from my inception and into Tempo EWL. And for those of you that are interested in doing it, I would highly recommend it. It's been the best thing that happened to me. I've become really good friends with my mentor. She's helped me grow in my career and ascend at BMO. I'm sure a lot of you are already mentors, but this is a really special relationship, and I strongly encourage you to do it if you have the time. Nobody has the time, but if you're interested, it's I can't say enough amazing things. So.
And your mentor nominated you into Tempo, so kind of came full circle, and hopefully you will sign up to be a mentor if you have time. I won't volunteer you. Thanks, Anne. So sorry, these graphics might be a little bit blurry, but just gives you an overview of the scope of all that we offer for emerging women leaders, the diversity, the industries represented, the membership growth, 607% in 5 years. But what I'll really focus on is these job titles. Not that Tempo membership's not based on job title, nor is EWL, but kind of gives you an idea of, okay, it's that director level, manager, maybe VP at bank, but that mid-career woman who we're really looking for. And here's the criteria to just bring some more color to the requirements. So we're looking for at least 6 years in the workforce, full-time. Time spent as an intern does not apply, but really those people in your network, in your community who are like, okay, she's got something, she's a rising star, she's what's next. That's who we're looking for. Similar to Tempo, we're really looking for someone involved in the community. That can be serving on a board, it can be on a committee, just one thing outside of their work responsibilities to show that they're community minded, and then displaying leadership within her company. We take nominations 2 times a year, a little bit from Tempo where we take 4 times a year. I imagine soon we'll get to 3 and 4. But if there is a woman in your network who you think might be interested in this, you can definitely shoot me an email. We can get her involved in events as a guest for now. And then that fall nomination period will open in September, and you'll get notified about that.
Thanks, Marit. I'm so proud of our Emerging Women Leaders Initiative and where we have taken it over the last 5 years. I know that when I brought it to the board, it was, you know, maybe thinking a 1 to 2 year program, maybe our women would roll off of it. We had no idea what it would evolve into, and just really, these are incredible leaders and they have brought so much value to Tempo, and certainly from the mentoring aspect, just given greater definition to that focus area for us. So really incredible growth. These women are powerhouses within their own right. They have separate programming that's really reflected on where they are within their career, but then also several times throughout the year, you're able to interact with them at Tempo program meetings and our events, as well as that one-to-one mentoring, which we'll talk a little bit more about. So thank you, Marit. One of the other key differentiators that I mentioned is our Tempo Foundation. This is the charitable arm. This is how Tempo gives back to the community. So we provide two different aspects. One is that $15,000 educational scholarship to a woman at a 4-year college in Wisconsin. So that's given out through our Mentor Awards, one of our signature events, which we'll talk a little bit about. We have awarded more than $300,000 in scholarships over the last 30 years of that signature event. And then something that we introduced just a few years ago was this annual professional development grant, which is another $15,000 that is awarded to one or more Tempo members, non-Tempo members, emerging women leaders, members of the community that want to continue their education. And it's not necessarily from a master's program or a PhD, but you know, this might be a you know, going to Carnegie Mellon University to learn about robotics. That's one grant that we just sent out and awarded this past year. So look to that. These are annual. We send out the application around February of each year and then announce these at our annual meeting in April. So this was a really incredible way of our foundation giving back to women in our community. Another key differentiator is our Women's Leadership Collaborative, and this is something that we established along with Professional Dimensions and Milwaukee Women Inc., two other organizations here in town that really focus on that furthering the impact of women leaders. But we came together as 3 organizations because we believed a collective voice could have even greater impact for women and equity for women. And so we focused that on really that collective voice and what was that one platform that all of our organizations could come together and provide a even greater impact. And that we weren't individually doing as organizations. And so we landed on equity for women in the workplace, but specifically for pay equity. And so you'll see a lot more about that talk and how we're changing the narrative for women to negotiate for their salaries. How do we have that equal, how do we decrease the gap between what men and women make? And so that is really the focus of our Women's Leadership Collaborative. You can see the link at the bottom of your screen. I encourage you, if you have a passion for this, please let us know. We're always looking to add voices to this collaborative. Ways to get involved. This is you, Marit. I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks. And you get to hear double from me because I'm taking Kelsey's slides today. So bear with me. So now that you've joined, pay your dues, I'm going to get into kind of the fun stuff of what you can take advantage of now that you're a member and what's included in your dues. And I'll dig a little deeper into what Jen has already mentioned. So program meetings, this is really the core of Tempo. Since it was founded in 1975, our women come together several times a year to hear from a keynote speaker, a panel, a fireside chat, and time for networking. So these have been virtual, obviously, but as Jen mentioned, we'll be looking to get back in person in September. We like to keep these consistent on the 3rd Thursday of most months. So you can just have it on your calendar and know this is my Tempo Luncheon Day. Our upcoming one is going to be virtual, however, and we've cut the networking time since it's on Zoom, but please make sure you sign up. It's Thursday, June 17th, our annual Past Presidents program, and we'll be hearing a fireside chat with Devona and Dr. Joan Prince, retired UWM Vice Chancellor, amazing powerhouse in our community. Tempo Talks, this is what we added in response to the pandemic. We had never done a virtual program ever before. And then April 2020, we found ourselves doing one a week. So that's how we got to those 63 events in 2020 to 21. But we know some of our members love this flexibility, being able to just log on, not have to commute. So this will remain a staple program, not every Friday, but one Friday a month. And some of you maybe have already attended these. Our next one is kind of a combo with our professional development series, Embracing Your Genius. So it will be a little bit more interactive and workshop-y. And then obviously another benefit of virtual is that they're recorded and you can log in and watch them at your own leisure.
Mariette, can I say something about the Tempo Talks?
Yes.
I will say that the Tempo Talks really speaks to how relevant Tempo remains and important to all of our women, in the sense that I recall, like last year was just a hard year on a number of fronts. And Tempo as an organization, I would say, leaned into that pain and made sure that we were addressing issues that impacted all women, from, you know, the what was going on in our country, from, you know, a racial perspective, what was going on across our country, but actually, you know, really impacting us individually was this, you know, new work from home environment and how to navigate that, you know, even, you know, navigating ourselves within our career. And I will say I benefited incredibly from the Tempo Talks, in the sense that I joined an entirely new job in a different industry with people that I did not know. And I think, you know, the power of Tempo helped me to do that in a confident and successful way. So I just wanted to reiterate that the programming that we offer is very relevant, and it is really instrumental to us growing as leaders in our organizations and in our community.
Thanks, Devona. And that makes me think of another point that I glossed over, is we try to really feature our Tempo members and Emerging Women Leader members in these Tempo Talks, which is a little bit different from the program meetings where we might get someone more external. So really a chance to tap into our network of 800 leaders and give you a platform to share your expertise. Tempo Real Talks is another initiative that was born out of the pandemic and the world in 2020, really following the murder of George Floyd a year ago, almost exactly. So, you know, we had our diversity and inclusion pillar and focused on it, but this really brought an experience to members where they could get involved, and just knowing so many women, especially white women, wanted to do something following those events. So we created a virtual platform for women to come together. Our first session was just show up, and this is an open and safe space to have dialogue, and it's evolved into a chapter by chapter read of White Fragility. Our last White Fragility session happens to be just in a couple of weeks. So you can definitely join if you've read the book or not. It's open to anyone, but we'll be taking a little break in the summer and really look forward to refreshing our Real Talks initiative and bringing some really cool experiential learning and opportunities to our members to get involved. So stay tuned on that. Professional development series. These also will be back in person. I think the first one will be in October. These are, when we're in person, they're early mornings on Fridays from 7 to 9, but totally worth it. You leave feeling energized. The difference between these and a program meeting or a tempo talk is that it's more interactive workshop around a professional development topic. So a lot of our members love to bring their teams. It's a really minimal registration fee for guests to just have a turnkey professional development opportunity. So next one, as I mentioned, will be virtual Friday, June 4th. We won't make you get up early for that. That one's over the lunch hour. But then October, we'll look to get back in person. Tempo Discovery. These are, I guess, our fun kind of social outing. Not, there's typically not a programming topic, but we do always try to have the outing at a new and trending business in the community, somewhere that's making headlines, and give our members a VIP experience that you couldn't just do on your own. So a good example would be when the Kimpton Journeyman Hotel opened up a couple of years ago. We got to have a VIP tour and a social on their rooftop. We've also toured the Milwaukee Art Museum when they were undergoing renovations, and at the same time you get to hear from an executive from within that company. So we're always looking for new ideas as well. If you're connected to a nonprofit or a cool venue in town, and can't wait to start bringing these Tempo Discovery back. Mentor circles. Devona plugged this, so I don't even really need to, but I'll tell you how to get involved if you liked what you heard and just give a little bit more background. So mentor circles, it's groups of about 7 to 9 Tempo members. It's led by 2 co-facilitators who volunteered their time, and they're really structured based around timing that you can meet. If you can meet out west for lunch, that's typically how they're placed. Some groups are based on, you know, I'm a marketing professional or a nonprofit professional. But beyond that, we do not know what is talked about in these groups. Everyone signs a confidentiality agreement. Groups are self-led. So all of them are kind of different, but it's definitely the facilitators taking input from the group members on how they want to run and what goals they want to have. So if you are interested in learning more or joining, you'll shoot us an email, info@tempomilwaukee.org. And then a member of this Mentor Circles committee will reach out to you, explain more about the process, and really just give you information that it can take a little bit to place you in the perfect circle, because we also want to avoid conflicts with different companies from industries, or maybe, you know, somebody's sister-in-law is your friend, you know, those kind of things. We want to make sure it's a comfortable space for everyone. But Devona really spoke to the value, and some women pay their Tempo dues, don't come to a single program, but this mentor circle is, you know, worth the membership dues alone for them. And then the one-to-one mentoring program. This is another great way to get involved if you don't necessarily want to put another program or webinar on your calendar. And it's what Anne talked about. You can sign up 2 times a year to get paired with an Emerging Women Leaders mentee. And those titles, mentee, mentor, they're blurry, they reverse. So sometimes we don't know who's the mentor and the mentee because it is such a mutually beneficial relationship. But we set the minimum at 1 year. If it's going really well after a year, you can continue on and really ask you to meet every other month at a minimum. Some meet more. I think Anne met with her mentor like every single Friday. You had a phone call, or maybe every other Friday. But again, it's really making it work for you. So if you're interested, watch your Monday message. There'll be a sign up link. You take a survey. The EWL members take a survey, and then we match you based on some different factors. Coffee Connections. Some of you may have already participated. This is something we launched in COVID, and it was a brilliant idea that we should have been doing all along. But you can sign up every month to be randomly matched for the following month with another member. So an easy way to meet 12 new people a year and really effortlessly. We'll send you an email with your match at the beginning of the month, and then you have the whole month to find a time if you want to meet in person, if you want to meet virtual. It's totally up to you. Has anyone participated in these yet? Oh, Tracy, great. 500 connections have been made since September 2020. And we also have this with our Emerging Leaders group too. Signature events. Now these are not included in your Tempo membership. They are major fundraisers for our organization and external awareness building events. But one is our leadership event. We will be having our 16th annual leadership event in October. Last year's was actually November, and some of you may have attended. We featured Gabrielle Union, a huge virtual event with 1,600 people tuning in. So kind of turned lemons into lemonades. There's not a venue in Milwaukee that could even hold 1,600 people. I guess the Fiserv Forum or an arena, but that was our biggest event we have ever had in Tempo history. This year, October, we're getting creative and it will be hybrid, more details TBD, but I know we're working hard on figuring out how do we top Gabrielle Union. So this will be an opportunity if your company wants to sponsor, a great opportunity to bring your team, or individual tickets are available as well. Holiday party. So I lied. Holiday party is included in your dues. December 9th, 2021, we have a date. It's at the Pfister Imperial Ballroom. It's one of my favorite events of the year. Everyone gets dressed up. It's a social occasion. There's not much of a program, but just a chance to get together and network over the holidays. And I'm so looking forward to this year's event, being back in person. Mentor Awards is our other signature event. 31st Annual Mentor Awards was just in April this year. It was virtual, 350 attendees. We recognize individual mentors in the community who've been nominated and one organization. Typically it's 2 individuals, 1 organization. This year, the judges just could not decide because there were so many phenomenal nominations. We had 3 individual winners and 1 organization. This event is typically in February, and that's the plan for next year when we have our 32nd Mentor Awards Luncheon. This is where Jen mentioned with the Tempo Foundation, each winner can designate a scholarship be made in her name. Golf outing, hope to see you all there at the end of June. 1 to 7 p.m. for golfers, or if you're not a golfer, 5 to 7 p.m. you can tag on to the social at the end of the day. This is not included in your dues. The social is just a $20 fee, includes your drink and hors d'oeuvres. But the University Club of Milwaukee, 2 years ago, we had our golf outing there, and they said that it was the largest women's only golf event they had ever hosted. So our members show up for this, even if you're not an amazing golfer. Women get together and create a foursome and have a lot of fun. All right, last round of slides here, and then we'll open it up for questions. So navigating the organization, just some of the nuts and bolts of how to register for events and stay informed. So I think all of you have probably turned in your paperwork, filled out that online form, and heard from Kelsey or Diavion about any next steps. So you should be now receiving all of our communications regularly. And then there was also an engagement opportunities one-pager provided if any of those committee opportunities that we talked about were of interest to you. So navigating the website, you should have established your login and password and hopefully taken some time to peruse the website. But really, once you log in, a pop-up comes up with your profile and some other things that you can explore as a member only. There's where you can edit your profile if you have a job name, job change, a directory pops up so you can search all Tempo members and emerging women leaders. And you can also look at your submissions and invoices to see what you signed up for. Speaking of job changes, if you do have one, which we know happens frequently with our group of 800 women, you're welcome to go in your profile and change it, or just email the office and we're happy to change it for you. We also like to be aware of what our members are doing. So either way works. Monday message. I hope you are all receiving this. Did anyone turn in their forms and is not receiving the Monday message? Perfect. So this is your guide to all things Tempo. It goes out every Monday before noon. It includes everything you need to know about what's currently going on, events, announcements, registration. It's just your Bible for Tempo. So really important that if you're not receiving it or if you stop receiving it, you let us know, because it's got everything that you need to know about Tempo. Members Advancing Milwaukee. Some of you may have seen this if you joined prior to April, but this is a quarterly opportunity for some of that extra stuff that our members are doing. Job postings, board openings. If you're chairing a nonprofit event, you can submit information about that. Really just anything you're doing that you would like the Tempo network to know about. And when it's time to submit, there's a call out in the Monday message. So you know, okay, here's the link where I need to submit my information. Quarterly newsletter is another form of communication. And we're excited to launch our first newsletter with our rebrand in the next month here, but it's longer form recap of things that have been going on in the past quarter. We publish all of your lovely headshots and bios to talk about our new members. And this is where we also would publish job changes, or so-and-so was featured in an article, things like that. And again, we do a call out when it's time to submit those things so you don't miss it. Job board is something that we added in response to COVID, and it's been pretty popular with our members. So you can post things within your company that would be appropriate for our network of emerging women leaders and Tempo members. There's also a function you can submit your resume, say you were in a job transition and looking to get more networked, but you can see the information here on your screen. Social media, please follow us. We're really proud of the engagement that we see on especially Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So give us a follow, tag us, whatever your favorite platform is. We're not on TikTok yet. Maybe a goal. There's some fans of TikTok on our Tempo team. And then finally, some next steps. You will be contacted by a member of the engagement committee to get a coffee, have a virtual Zoom, totally optional. But if you wanted to make another connection, and the engagement committee members are really trained to help you find a path that works for you within Tempo and answer any questions. And then most of our events are open to guests. I'm sure all of you have another woman in your network who would be a good fit for Tempo or emerging women leaders. We encourage you to invite them to our upcoming programs. Join a committee we talked about, and then we've said this a lot of times, you get out of Tempo what you put into it. But it's really a choose your own adventure. It will be impossible to participate in every single thing. So we are all happy to support you in finding what works for you. All right, I get to stop talking and we'll take questions.
Thanks, Mari.
Let's stop sharing so we can see you all.
Yeah, so a lot of information was just thrown at you, but I think, some of the biggest key takeaways is there's not a lack of engagement opportunities. One of I think the most asked question that we receive is where, can I just join, or what is maybe the best committee in my first couple of months or a year with the organization until I get my feet wet and kind of figure out where I might have the greatest impact. But if you're interested, if you're a joiner like Devona and just wants to join all committees or have her voice heard, one of the greatest committees for our new members to join is an events committee. So we are in the early stages of planning. We actually haven't even had our first planning session with our leadership event co-chair. So this is the event that's in October. We will, once we start to form this group, be meeting in person. It's a once a month commitment, and then you're done after October. So it's a great way to meet other individuals. Some of our committees just meet via phone, so we don't have that in-person connection all the time. But that would be one area that if you have interest in just getting started right away, let us know, and we will be sure to add you to that leadership event committee. What other questions do you have, or can we provide more information for you?
I have oh, go ahead, Amy.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Tracy. This is more a comment than it is a question. First of all, thank you for all the extensive information. It is definitely helpful for sure. When the presenting on the emerging women's leaders group, one thing that just jumped out to me, and this is just my comment, was on the slide with all the infographic with the details, and it had industries highlighted. I know that doesn't cover all the industries, but it jumped out to me that the opportunity that there is, which doesn't surprise me, is the manufacturing, engineering, construction, the typically traditional male-dominated industries, how we still struggle to get women representation there. And I worked for a mining manufacturing company for 20 years. And even when I was there, they spoke about how to really get women in engineering leadership roles, and said it would take 5 years, and still it's now 6 years later, and they're still saying, because I have connections there, it's going to take 5 years. And I think I'm probably preaching to the converted that nothing happens unless you target a goal with intent and on purpose. So it's just a comment that it's just something that jumped out to me on that particular slide, about the continued opportunities.
Yeah, thank you, Amy. It is such a great comment and something to pull out from not only emerging women leaders, but also from our Tempo, network. Yes, we have been very intentional about focusing on these industries and bringing more women in typically male-dominated industries, construction, manufacturing. But the fact of the matter is there's not a lot of them still. And so I think that is one of the strengths and one of the ways that Temple can continue to advocate and elevate women in those industries and be that voice. So introducing introducing Tempo to women in those fields, I think is really important. We have seen an uptick, but it's still something that we need to really focus on. So I thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I wasn't saying that Tempo aren't being intentional. I believe that a good job of being intentional of recognizing women that are in lower level roles and really around their accelerating development.
Absolutely. And Tracy, it looked like you had a question as well.
It was similar to Amy's. My background being agency, technology, and manufacturing, and now architecture and construction, I am oftentimes the only woman on a call or the only woman in the room still, and certainly from a general construction manner, how does one, besides being a guest, how else could we assist in those areas? As I have, more and more of these connections as I am furthering my career, I would love to have the opportunity to bring those women forth to Tempo, even as an emerging woman leader, et cetera. And what other, besides being a guest, what other ways would you suggest?
Yeah, we're always looking for women to introduce either Tempo to or emerging women leaders. There are several ways that you can find out about our organization. Aside from being a guest, Tracy, but also I host informational sessions for prospects or those that maybe aren't as familiar with Tempo every month. And am happy to publicize that a little bit more and let them know. And it's kind of a very, very condensed version of what this is, what our orientation is, but an introduction to Tempo. And then we put it back on the members, or if you're, to nominate that individual, or, we also find women that move to Milwaukee or that we know meet the criteria. They're CFO at a new organization that has just come into town. And so we know that they would be a great fit for Tempo. And so we're actively promoting or inviting them to join the organization. So they are a part of those informational sessions. I know a couple of you on this call today, I met through those informational sessions. So it's wonderful to see it come full circle that you have joined the organization. So we'll let you know. I have not set it for June, but we'll make sure that we get that date out to everyone.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much.
And we haven't yet established that. Marit does it per kind of emerging women leader on a one-to-one, but it may be something that in the future we move to that practice as well. But if you have somebody that meets the criteria that might be interested in learning more about our emerging women leaders, shoot Marit an email. She'd be happy to have a conversation with them.
And I guess just on a side note, I think about being at MyEd and, internships. So a lot of people don't know about MyEd. I lived next to MyEd for 8 years and thought it was literally just a drawing, or I had no idea that we had product design, which is the other side of, the engineers, do the mechanics, and the product design, they design the outside of it. I mean, our students have worked for Harley Davidson and Milwaukee Tool. We have so many alum there. We have interior design, and it's just amazing. But, maybe a foot in the door to get women. And I think we're at about 70% women there, is introducing them to those internships, and then hopefully being hired from from the internship if they like. But my husband came from MSOE, and he graduated from there, and there was hardly any women, certainly in the engineer.
I would just like to add, I love that you guys are, and we now as Tempo, as part of it, are part of that WLG, that collaboration. I guess I'd make a suggestion too, just around this topic. There's Women in Manufacturing member organization right here that, one of the chapters here. And I know they have really struggled kind of getting themselves back up and running. But even in that spirit of maybe there's a collaborative type of thing that we can do with the power of 2 memberships together. I do have some context in there because I spent 25 years in manufacturing, same type of thing, only women in the room, only woman in the room. And it's definitely a passion of mine too, but maybe there's some collaboration we can do with them as well to help both organizations just around that topic. But I love the thought of us collaborating. So thank you for the strategy to do that, because that's awesome.
Julie, yeah. I actually was an invited speaker years ago for them. And as a gift, they gave me a pink hammer. Awesome.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah, there's absolutely a lot of opportunity. There are networks that we haven't even tapped into. So I really encourage us to, spread that knowledge and, invite others to join. I think that there are just so many untapped industries and women that are doing really incredible things that maybe we don't know of and haven't yet been exposed to Tempo. So I really encourage you. One of the areas that Tracy, you had talked about internships, and any job posting or anything that is maybe relevant within your organization. You're looking for interns, you're looking for more females to come into your ranks. We do have a job board for our members, so that's another value add that we should probably worthy of mentioning. But anybody can access it from the Tempo or Emerging Women Leaders, and then it goes out to our network. So I would encourage all of you, we can send you the link, but it's also found on our website. So you just log in and then you'll see like a little tab that says more about the job postings or portal. So thank you.
I do have one question as I was looking at where you're collaborating with the other organizations, and right now your focus is on pay equity for women. Has there been discussion or another future focus on getting women on boards and paid boards in particular?
Yeah, so that truly is the mission of Milwaukee Women Inc. So that is something that's already really their focus and priority. So if you don't know more about Milwaukee Women Inc., I encourage you to learn more. I would say 90% of their members are Tempo members as well. And so there's a great overlap, but that truly is their focus, Tracy, is, how do you create a space for women to get on public serving boards? So that's Milwaukee Women Inc. So we wanted to find a common platform or a common thing that each of our organizations weren't already doing individually. So
I think that's great. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
I think adding on to Tracy's comment, I recently attended something about women investors, so seed investors and women investing in cause investing and women-run companies. And I don't know if that's an area as well or potential topic. It's not necessarily the board route, but it is also a way into these organizations if you are able to look at investing both from a cause or angel perspective, et cetera. So it could be something else as well, but I don't know if Milwaukee Women Inc. is if that's their main focus as well, or something that you've thought about.
Yeah, it's actually been brought up at the WLC, the Women's Leadership Collaborative level. I think our focus right now is pay equity, but certainly looking into that. So I thank you for bringing that up, Lisa.
I actually thought about that when you were going through the scholarship portion of it is, and I think it's the development one, but is that something that we can do, is provide a scholarship for women who want to start companies. I know that WIBIC is one that is a resource, but not solely for women, I don't think. But how great to have, some seed money for women who are starting businesses.
Yep, 100%. And, we've kind of been able to do that through our continuing education grant. So women that are starting out entrepreneurs in their field and they're looking for some kind of training. Unfortunately, we can't give, because of the way our 501c3 is set up, we can't give specifically to that individual, but we can give to a educational institution or a nonprofit that is offering that services. So many enroll in WIBIC-like led programs, and then that money goes to WIBIC, for their program. So absolutely, there's that opportunity for entrepreneurs, but there's so much more that we can be doing. And I thank you all for your great thoughts along this line. Yes, we may be a couple of minutes over, so I appreciate your time. I'm actually going to turn it over to Devona and see if you would say some final closing words. I will just say, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to email myself, any member of our Tempo team. We also have an info box, or info@tempomilwaukee.org. And yes, you can get a copy of the slides. Absolutely. This has been recorded. So if you wanted to also rewatch this, feel free. So I'm going to turn it over to Devona.
Thanks, Jen, and thanks all of you. It's great to meet you. I'm excited about the engagement and the topics that have come up. that we've just discussed, it really aligns well with our goals for the incoming year, because one of the things that we wanted to focus on, and me in particular, is strategic partnerships and alliances and more collaborating and figuring out where that makes sense. So your comments are very beneficial to us. We're definitely going to take them into consideration and figure out how we can leverage that in a way that makes sense for Temple and helping us to move forward. So I appreciate that. I know we are over time, but again, if you have any questions about anything, please reach out to the Temple team, to Jen, to myself. We're all here to be able to help you on your journey. And I will just end with, please get involved and be engaged. It's the best way to get the most out of your Temple membership. And I look forward to working with all of you in some capacity. Have a great day.
Thank you.